Speaking of starting in the middle, we watched Superman by James Gunn.
Yes, we did.
Connor, what happens in Superman?
Superman cuts to a Superman who's been doing this for a little while in a pre-established world. There's two lines at the text at the start that says superheroes have been around for a long fucking time. So if we want to do any prequel movies or whatever. And also Superman's been around for 3 years, so we don't really have to do much.
The Justice Society's been around about as long, I think.
Because it's going to be the Justice League eventually, probably.
They have their building, but it's still under construction, so they've probably only been around a couple years.
Yeah. But Superman is like an optimistic superhero, but the movie starts with him being defeated for the first time by a mysterious supervillain. There's two countries at war, basically Israel and Palestine, very blatantly.
Yeah.
And
sure is.
Everybody's like, well, Israel's our friends. I mean, whatever, Bolivia or whatever. But then Israel wants to destroy Palestine, and Superman's like, you can't do that. And then everyone gets mad at Superman. But then Lex Luthor, who's the villain, finds out that Superman's parents were actually crazy space Nazis and posts it, and then everyone hates Superman. And then Superman goes to another dimension, then he fights a bunch of people.
He goes to the Phantom Zone.
He goes to, a rift in time. It's kind of the Phantom Zone, but it's not called that.
As close as we're going to get, I think.
It's kind of a modernized version of Superman. It's in the vein of Superman. There's some remixed elements, but I'm not going to spoil too much, but it ends with Superman coming to blows with Lex Luthor and his minions. And yeah, so Aiden, what did you think of Superman 2025?
I liked Superman a whole lot. It's certainly not as funny or quirky as James Gunn's other superhero movies. It's certainly, it's not Suicide Squad. This is a more serious movie, I guess. Serious.
Yeah.
It is charming and fun and energetic, and we get to see a whole lot of this world. Not all of it, but we do get a whole lot of the Justice Gang, which is Green Lantern, Hawk Girl, and Mr.
Terrific.
Mr. Terrific, who's like a cyborg man.
Also, while I'm thinking of this trivia, Mr. Terrific is played by the Stone guy from X-Men First Class, and Nicholas Hoult, who played Beast in X-Men First Class, plays Lex Luthor. So
yeah,
which is also a good movie. Matthew Vaughn before he sucked.
Superman becomes friends with Element Man, who I presume is a character who's known in some small amount. Crypto's there. Crypto's very fucking cute, and he's in the movie all the time. He's not Superman's dog, he's Supergirl's dog. She's in the movie for like 4 seconds.
She's the next movie. It's coming out next year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it's very refreshing to not have another fucking origin movie and just start in the middle. And I am so fucking happy that we're just starting in the middle. These are not complicated movies. This is not a complicated movie. People will figure it out. They don't need to see fucking little baby Clark Kent pushing a bus out of the river and his drunk dad giving him lectures about the nature of fucking religion or whatever the fuck. And he doesn't need to go to church and be like, I'm just like, Jesus is just like me, for real, for real. You can just start in the fucking middle. We can just skip to phase 2, and we can start with movies that have things happen in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Crypto's very cute. The villain is something from a thing.
There's a lot.
I liked the implementation of him with Lex. I assume that it's a character people would know because he knows who it is. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, it's kind of
But it's not
based
like
on.
it's not like something complicated.
Like
and
this
weird.
movie, like most of this movie, it's just a bunch of DC-esque shit pulled in. It's not 100% one for one lore, but it's based on stuff. The villain. I don't want to spoil it for people.
It's a very kind of in the vein of Richard Donner Superman, the kind of happy-go-lucky, golden age, optimistic.
It's more Silver Age. Golden Age Superman's a prick.
Yeah,
Golden Age Superman was just killing people.
Golden Age Superman was like, this guy's charging too much rent, let's send him to the fucking electric chair.
Superman's like, you're never gonna see the outside of this gulag, you fucking piece of shit. And then he like knocked his teeth out, like throw him from a building and let him splatter.
It's Silver Age. It's a little campy, a little goofy. Not as funny as the other James Gunn superhero movies, but there's little bits of silliness there in the Silver Age style, like when he's having his heartfelt conversation with Lois, where there's a big blobby monster in the background getting fought by the Justice Gang, and he's just like, yeah, whatever, they can deal with that. I really liked the cast. David Cornsweet, very good as Superman, very good as Clark. Both sides are important, which is not always the case. Zack Snyder, where Clark Kent is just not present in Man of Steel at all. He's just not a character.
I mean, the problem with Clark Kent and Superman in the Zack Snyder movies is it's just one is wearing the Superman suit and one isn't. Where this film pretty intentionally decided to kind of divide the two. They took a lot from the. I mean, really, it goes back to like Kirk Allen and George Reeves, but most famously, Christopher Reeve would just like slump over, put on his big baggy suit, and blah blah blah, and then.
Yep.
Move up his posture and do a super voice when he was Superman, and that was clearly pulled over here.
I like Superman kind of being a dorky, dumb guy who just trusts everyone. He tells the Justice Society his identity probably immediately.
Perry White and Jimmy Olsen, it's just implied they know at the end.
Yeah, it's more or less implied. And Lois figures it out before the movie. I like the woman who plays Lois. They have a very nice chemistry with each other.
I think.
Rachel Brosnan. They're very good together. I think their little ending might be a tiny bit rushed, but I guess that's just the kind of character Superman is, with his genuine dorky honesty. I thought the Justice Society was very fun. I know we're seeing more of them in Peacemaker 2, so I'm looking forward to that. Peacemaker shows up very briefly in a funny scene. I'm quite looking forward to Peacemaker 2. It looks good. I really enjoyed the first season. And I think it's easy to walk out of this saying James Gunn did it again. I'm looking forward to seeing DC have a proper fucking thing on their hands. Our theater was packed, so hopefully this does well enough that it doesn't just completely fizzle out. But James Gunn seems like he has an idea, he knows what he's doing, and
I think this movie has a couple things going for it. People actually know who Superman is.
That's a good start.
It's something new and interesting that's building onto something new, and
James Gunn has also
characters,
actually
something
become
Marvel and DC's kind of forgotten to do the last couple of years.
James Gunn is one of like 6 directors that general audiences know.
Yeah.
He's like the comic auteur. He's like the Francis Ford Coppola of our day.
It is kind of crazy that there's a consistently good and unique filmmaker that makes exclusively superhero movies for some reason.
He used to make Scooby-Doo movies.
He just wrote those.
Yeah, no, it's really funny.
I could see him going, dabbling, It's
He
like
also
when,
wrote,
when they were flirting with having Kevin Feige direct the Star Wars
Zack
movie
Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Connection time.
He wrote a couple Troma movies.
He sure did. Yeah, I really liked it. It's a lot of fun. I'm very much looking forward to what comes next. And yeah, I mean, it's exactly the kind of movie you expect and hope it would be, and I'm very happy with it. Donner, what did you think of Superman?
Superman has some vibes that you would say is very James Gunn, but I think it's probably the first time he's done something more or less out of his Guardians wheelhouse. Because even the Suicide Squad was kind of like, what if we made Guardians of the Galaxy R-rated and take place on Earth?
Yep.
And then Peacemaker's like, what if we did Suicide Squad again but with different characters? And then
Yep.
this had an element of that with like the Justice Gang was very like, they're the dopey mainstream superheroes that are also just kind of weird people. And they're kind of trying to make something legitimate. Maxwell Lord is doing his startup superhero team. We get very brief appearance from him.
Played by
But
Sean Gunn, of course.
really what it is it's like James Gunn watched Richard Donner's Superman and took thorough notes and said, I'm going to make that, but in a very James Gunn style, and then I'm going to implement a bunch of like 90s and 2000s DC lore. It almost exclusively takes lore from the early 2000s and the 90s to build upon. And, I mean, there is a lot of like, definitely Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman. Grant Morrison is
I watched a
definitely
video
just...
about that the other day. I don't know anything else about it. I haven't read it.
Yeah. Well, Grant Morrison
I do know
is
Grant
apparently
Morrison.
they're just basing everything on Grant Morrison because I know the Batman movie is supposed to be basically
Good.
the arc from Grant Morrison, the one
Good.
that I just talked about in a video like yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever.
If we get Batman and Robin, I'll be
It's-
happy.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
want Professor Pig. Give me Professor Pig.
It sounds like they're doing Batman and Son first, which was the first volume or part of the first volume. Then
Give me
they'll do-
Batman Incorporated.
Yeah.
Give me fucking... I want all the Batmans. I want all of them.
Batman Incorporated is most definitely gonna happen at some point. There's no way. I could see if James Gunn doesn't direct a Batman Incorporated movie. I guess I don't know how much directing he's gonna continue to do, or if he's just ushering this in and doing some like writing and stuff, or what.
They should
But
just hire
if he's
Grant
just hopping
Morrison and
around-
tell him, figure this shit out with James Gunn, you and me.
The problem is Grant Morrison's just he's too, or they're non-binary these days, but they're too autistic. Like if you
Fair
read
enough.
Grant Morrison's shit, it's like incomprehensible unless you're also an autistic person like me.
Yeah, James Gunn's there to translate it for us normal people.
Yeah, James Gunn is like one of those maskers or whatever. He's able to translate it. But you got kind of a Justice League International growing, and I think that tone was really good. Like, James Gunn just pulled from a bunch of stuff he liked. He's like, I'm going to take elements from All-Star Superman, because I really like All-Star Superman. And then Justice League International, which was like an 80s and or late 80s, early 90s run of Justice League with like Guy Gardner and Metamorpho and stuff. Mr. Terrific's an add to that. He was more of a Justice Society character, but I think he did well. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of lore pulled in. I mean, obviously you kind of had the 90s Superman and Lois are dating. She knows who he is vibe. And the thing I liked about it is it was more or less like, what if Richard Donner continually just didn't go back to Lethal Weapon after like one of these and decided to just keep making
1.5.
Superman movies perpetually until he was, I don't know what Richard Donner would be today, 103 years old or whatever. He was old as fuck when he died like 3 years ago.
Did 1.5 Supermans.
Well, he did
Oh,
two.
he did two,
He
and then-
did all of
He did
Superman
two,
2.
and then they reshot
And then the
half of
studio got mad at him, fired him, and then they just reshot the entire movie just to fuck him so they didn't have to give him credit. They reworked a bunch of scenes they didn't like how it worked. Like, some core plot stuff. Like a lot of scenes are just one for one. So if you watch the Richard Donner cut, none of the footage is the same, but it's all just shot on the same sets. It was just directed by Richard Lester instead of Richard Donner. And Richard Lester's the dude who shot all of the Beatles movies, like Help, and he worked on Yellow Submarine and stuff. He's just like some guy who's friends with the Beatles.
Yeah.
Then they broke up, so I guess he had time on his hands, so he made a Superman movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's definitely that vibe. I mean, you got a lot of characters pulled over, like Lex's girlfriend, Eve, is pulled straight from the Richard Donner movie. Otis is also an invention of the Richard Donner movies. In this movie, she's like a big...
That dorky-looking guy from every 2010s comedy who used to play the dorky-looking kid is Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah. He was, he played young Sean Spencer in Psych.
Yeah.
That's a show I'm watching right now. He's done a lot of stuff. That guy continues to act. I don't know. I'm happy for him.
He was in the Vacation reboot with the fucking guy.
He's like a decent actor and stuff, but I'm surprised that his look and vibe is able to continue to...
His look and vibe of
bring
being
him
a
back.
dorky 17-year-old, even though he's like 28.
For a second I was looking at him, I'm like, wasn't he Jimmy Olsen in the Zack Snyder movies? And then I was like, oh wait, no, Zack Snyder did like...
Jimmy Olsen
was in like 1 second of Batman vs Superman and got killed. Yeah, I don't know. It definitely, like, you got a lot of elements of the cinematic universe set up here, but the thing I like is that the characters they had are pretty integral. The only one I would say isn't super integral to the plot is Hawk Girl, who just kind of goes around, and I think it's because it would be a little limp dick to have the Justice Gang be Mr. Terrific and Guy Gardner exclusively, so like we gotta throw in someone else.
It was a fucking sausage fest. They needed to put a woman in, but they didn't have anything for her to do yet.
Hawk Girl didn't have anything to do, but like Metamorpho,
I mean, she kills Benjamin Yat, dude.
She does.
That's the only thing she does in the movie.
Yeah, there's very strongly infused politics into this movie, which... And also just like commentary on people hating on James Gunn for making a Superman movie after Zack Snyder made it.
Yeah.
And just a lot of stuff that I found interesting. I thought Crypto was cute and a good angle. They didn't... He was mostly plot relevant. There were definitely some moments. One thing I will say about this movie is it rides that Richard Donner tone really well. And Richard Donner wrote it really well too. But in this movie... like the Richard Donner Supermans, there's some point where some shit just might go a little too far into like the fun, campy, over-optimist, like nobody dies stuff. Really fun Superman.
The squirrel.
There were like some gags and stuff. There was a couple moments, especially in the climax, that felt like a little much. I mean, nothing... It'll pale into comparison to the fairly straightforward Superman movie that Richard Donner did that was just quality, and then in the last 5 minutes Superman changes the rotational axis of the Earth that rewinds time. I mean, that's just like the campiest shit ever. So it's a pretty hard bar to jump, but there are a few moments it dips into that. I thought visually it looked really cool. You could tell Warner Brothers either gave the CGI artists enough time to do it or just like put so much fucking money behind the effects, because and this isn't Zack Snyder's fault really. I mean, to an extent, because he had to greenlight stuff and it was his budget and stuff, but the CGI on those Zack Snyder movies look like shit. And not just Zack Snyder, the Shazam movies had shitty CGI, and
I think part of
Blue Beetle
the
and
Zack Snyder problem, specifically for
Flash
like Batman vs Superman, when the Zack Snyderverse had money, is that they went for like the weird, hyper-realistic style that made the thing from Batman vs Superman look like the fucking troll from The Hobbit. And in this movie, the giant kaiju looks like a fucking cartoon character, but it looks 1,000 times better than the cave troll.
It's a high rendered cartoon character, which is
much like
the fucking
Star.
way to do it. Yeah, I mean, it's the same gimmick.
It's stylized.
It's stylized. It's very much like Starro. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of little moments that connect to what we already had, like Peacemaker. You got Rick Flag Sr. in here briefly. Stuff to come like Justice Gang, which is going to tie into Peacemaker, and But it's not like Marvel, and even like Supergirl shows up at the end and it's kind of a gag. They're not like Supergirl's gonna have the ultimate threat of all time, and it
It's not a commercial for the next movie.
It kind of feels like maybe that scene takes place after Supergirl, maybe? It doesn't really matter. A lot of stuff doesn't really matter. Even the end credit scenes are just like two little gags. Like, I think one thing I do like is that they keep the end credit scenes in there as little gags, but they're not like important. I feel like end credit scenes, as they were, like, one thing about end credit scenes is they kind of worked in like early Marvel because everything that they were doing was paying off. And then eventually, the end credit scene at Marvel became a fucking pitch reel for what they may or may not do. Like, what do you guys think about Harry Styles and Patton Oswalt as a comedic superhero duo? Hypothetically, could still happen. Harry Styles and... That wasn't the One Direction boy that died, so hypothetically, it could still happen.
I like when Marvel
It's not going to, but it hypothetically
I like when Marvel said, "What do you think about Marshall Ali as Blade?" That was a good one.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
I think the smart thing to do is like, okay, Supergirl is like in deep production. We can throw one scene where she shows up as a bit of a like tease, but
she goes to
nothing
get
like
her dog.
It wasn't something hype melodramatic, and honestly, it's one of those things where, like, if a Supergirl movie didn't happen and she just showed up in Superman 2, which I'm sure she will whenever they do a Superman 2, it's like, oh well, you know. It wasn't like some... They also didn't want to do any, like, immediate Thanos, which some of these like to do, where it's like, this is going to be our big bad guy in 15 movies. Now we just have to tell the origins of 20 other people.
Yeah.
And get
I don't
people
ever
to
want to
continue.
see a fucking hot girl movie. She can just be a fucking another person who hangs out in these movies, and when they do some sort of Justice Society movie or Justice League, she can be there. I don't give a shit. I don't want to know the origin of Hot Girl. I don't care. I do not care.
I think the nice thing about what I was getting here is like Hawk Girl, Guy Gardner, and like none of these characters I really see as like leading their own movie. They could potentially be in like some weird Justice League International movie that's like some weird... I mean, I would love a Justice League International movie that's not like melodramatic
We should
versus
bring back Pierce
Steppenwolf, just
Brosnan
weird.
to be Doctor Strange again.
That was the Justice Society.
Whatever, man. He can
Doesn't
show
matter.
up again.
I do like Pierce Brosnan as Doctor Strange was far and away the best thing about Black Adam, and the only thing I remember except bad. I remember bad, and that I thought Pierce Brosnan as Doctor Strange was really good. Was a smart idea.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
I love Pierce Brosnan.
As long as he's not tied up with Mamma Mia 3.
Yeah, I mean, let the man do Mamma Mia 3. If you have to put off the movie so that he can show
delay
up,
Justice Society.
delay whatever you need to delay to get Pierce, because you can't conflict.
Let that man have his fun.
He's
been begging for it for years. Every interview he's been saying, when the fuck are we doing Mamma Mia 3?
Do you think, like, if they're like, we want you in the next movie as Doctor Strange, do you think he's like, I just have to call Meryl Streep real quick and see what the deal is with Mamma Mia 3?
Yes. Bro, he would be in 9 Mamma Mias before he'd ever be in a
James
goddamn
Bond
superhero movie.
Jeff Bezos himself calls Pierce Brosnan, says we're doing James Bond into the Bondiverse or whatever. We need you back. And he says it's all dependent on Meryl. Can I sing? Can I be a singing super spy? I'll do it if I can sing. Yeah. No, I thought it was fun. The cinematography was good. The effects were good. The action was creative. I thought Mr. Terrific's action was really fun. I mean, the Superman action is more or less Superman action. There's not really much you can do. He's just a guy who flies into something really fast and then punches while he moves really fast.
Yeah.
And this movie did do the clone antagonist trope.
Yeah.
But the clone antagonist wasn't really... I mean, he was just like a henchman of... Oh, I guess... I mean, like, spoiler alert. But like, it's just like he's just a henchman to like Lex Luthor in the movie. He's not. You know, there's an aspect of my suit's better than yours. I'm not gonna take it away. There's some flaws in the movie, but largely I like the tone. I liked that like the Kents were just fucking random Kansas weird looking old people.
Yeah, just
I respect that. Like
just like the most normal looking.
Warner
farmer.
Brothers had to have been like, okay, but what if you hired fucking, I don't know, Sally Field and
Lucy
fucking Martin
Liu.
Sheen. I was just thinking like the Uncle Ben and Aunt May.
Susan Sarandon, we can get her. I don't know.
Angelina Jolie's probably old enough to play now, you know. Or they could get that lady from Spider-Man.
They got the woman who has the most severe Southern accent ever, and some mumbling obese guy.
Yeah.
And those are his parents, and it's great.
They're just nice.
I love them.
They're just nice people that live in a trailer on a farm, and that's, you know. And there's also a level of like a big aspect of this movie is like, so this is kind of a spoiler, but I'm gonna kind of go into spoilers. I don't think I'll spoil too much, but just what's relevant. But Superman, Jor-El and Laura are super space neo-Nazis, so everyone's trying to judge Superman, saying he's an evil space super neo-Nazi. But then he says, I actually identify with my parents who are simple, you know?
They're simple folk.
Simple folk. They're simple folk, you know, 64 IQ, they didn't finish high school, they didn't even start it. They worked on the cornfield, but they're nice folk. They're simple and nice.
Yeah.
And then big city...
He literally says that to Lex Luthor. He literally says almost exactly that.
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of the theme of the movie, is you know...
He loves his
and
mommy
also,
and
I
daddy.
like at the end of the movie, like when the Justice League fights Israel, everyone's like, well, that's kind of messed up that they would just do that. And the movie's like, yeah, but, you know.
What are we going to do about it, you know?
Superman's right, though. That's pretty much what the movie says. Like, Israel's been pretty naughty. Or whatever the fuck they called fake Israel. I'm, like, kind of amazed that plot line was allowed to be so heavily and so blatantly inspired. I mean, you might be able to kind of be like, well, it's also like Ukraine and Russia, but not really. It's
not even.
It's very clearly.
The side that's getting invaded is a bunch of Middle Eastern looking folks swinging around Schwami swords, wearing rags.
Machetes and stuff, while the US-backed super country with mega weapons is literally driving up to their border and breaking down the fence to slaughter children. And then Guy Gardner shows up with his bowl cut to shoot him with his Green Lantern laser ring.
Yeah, and Element Man shows up to...
I liked Metamorpho in this movie. I like all the characters.
I like Element Man a lot.
Except for Hawk Girl. They didn't do anything with her, but...
Yeah, whatever.
But Metamorpho...
I needed to have a
Metamorpho, Guy Gardner, and Mr. Terrific had a lot going on.
It's like the not gays, where it's like, okay, so like, if Hawk Girl wasn't there, it'd be like, presumably, like, if Hawkman was there, then it'd be three guys sitting in a giant empty building
and like
having sex with each other.
You
all
know,
day.
realistically, I don't know what they could do what they did in like Black Adam and give him a shirt, but like traditionally Hawkman's nips out, you know.
Yeah.
So you got this guy in a Hawk BDSM costume, and
you've got a ginger guy with the worst haircut ever, and then you've got like a black guy covered in robot parts. People would be like, they're gay.
I like how Metamorpho also is just like got his little freaky baby, and he's got a trailer park baby mama, and that's the Justice League. It's just like the Justice League's just a bunch of weirdos. Like Guy Gardner has an inflated ego, and I loved Guy Gardner. It's the first time he's come to fucking movies, and Guy Gardner is a character that I either love Guy Gardner or hate him, depending who's writing him. Because some people are really good at him, and some people don't get the character. And the character's a fucking farce. Like, at first he's like, what if we made a replacement to Green Lantern? And, like, his first couple appearances, it's like, this guy's, like, just as noble as Hal Jordan, but he was drawn like a jackass. So then everyone in the fucking 80s just like collectively came together and said, what if he was just like this overinflated ego prick because he looks like a fucking idiot with his bowl cut.
I think my favorite,
and that became the entire character, and he was adapted perfectly here.
I think my favorite scene in the movie is at the end when Element Man wants to join the Justice Gang and Guy says no, and then Element Man is like, the Justice Gang is such a cool name, and Guy just immediately accepts him because now he can outvote everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Love
politics. More politics in this movie. Why can't it just not be political? Honestly, I would take thinly veiled Israel-Palestine metaphors over is Superman Space Jesus dope for 3 movies any fucking day.
Yeah.
And
by a long shot.
You know, and I said this a lot. Like,
forget.
I shit on Zack Snyder for making terrible movies because it's true.
Well,
but he seems like a nice guy. And I guess him and James Gunn had coffee and talked about Superman's costume for 3 hours, apparently. That's the myth. That's the legend that James Gunn
Don't forget the other one
passed.
where is Batman abusive cop discourse. That was fun. I really loved that part of Batman vs. Superman.
I'm excited for Batman to just have a kid and be beaten up. Hopefully Professor Pig and his Daltrons.
Yeah.
I think they should just...
I don't know if they can do Flamingo.
Flamingo, the homosexual serial killer Mexican guy.
I don't know if Batman
member.
and his son beating up a Mexican homosexual would be a good look, but they can fuck up Professor Pig and his sex slaves.
Yeah. I think they should just do the Grant Morrison suite of characters.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I don't know what Grant Morrison's... I read Batman and Robin. I like that one.
He made up a lot of characters.
I didn't read the one where Batman goes back in time or the other one, but I know the one where Batman and Robin beat up the pig man and his sex slaves.
Grant Morrison is a very good writer, and everything is just based on that. It looks like even the Lanterns TV show... what I like about the Lanterns TV show, from what I've seen, is it just looks like Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan walking around the desert. So it's kind of got like that Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams vibe a little bit, but also kind of like the 2019 Grant Morrison Green Lantern run. I think James Gunn just bought all the trade paperbacks by Grant Morrison and said, let's just
do this,
adapt all of these, and we can go from there.
And presumably, we're apparently going to see the Creature Commandos in some of these movies at some point.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's another thing I like, is that they're just like, yeah, people are just around, and that's why like Creature Commandos randomly being the first DCU project, it just happened somewhere else. The only person who happened to be tangentially connected to the events was fucking Rick Flag Sr. You know, we got the random Clayface horror movie coming out by Mike Flanagan next year.
Yeah, I'm down. Fuck it.
Sure.
I'm down. Mixed media, we can do animation, we can do fucking movies.
Apparently they're doing canon video games. James Gunn basically said he was just basically just said he wanted to do what they were doing with Star Wars, except probably with a better hopefully a better venting system.
You don't need to explain every little thing. You can make fucking video games that just have people in them who may or may not appear in movies later. And you can have a show with people who may or may not be in movies later, and if they have something cool to do with Radiation Man and Frankenstein's wife,
I think Metamorpho would be cool to bring into fucking Peacemaker. He seemed like a Peacemaker character, or someone that would have cool shit to do there.
I mean, I would assume that he'll be...
I guess with the Justice League stuff,
unless Peacemaker 2 takes place before Superman for some reason, I don't see why he wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know when it takes place. Definitely takes place after Creature Commandos. But I think the timeline is slightly relevant. Another vibe I kind of got from those opening 2 lines is that it's not necessarily going to be entirely linear. It's just like someone wanted to make a Supergirl project that takes place 15 years ago on Kandor or something, and that's what they'll do.
Yeah. And you don't have to watch every fucking movie. It doesn't fucking matter.
Speaking of, in 2 weeks, it's Superhero Fever this July. It's Fantastic Four, it's Eman month.
Yeah.
And they're making the shitty Fantastic Four movie. Yeah. So that'll probably be our, I don't think that's our, I think there's something between Superman and Fantastic Four on our agenda. We have our agenda set aside as tickets go up for pre-sale. Is there something weird?
I think there is.
Oh, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I forget that was coming out.
A quick aside to watch I Know What You Did Last Summer before we get back into superhero franchises that have had a hard lot. And okay, one last thing. We'll wrap this up because we've already been talking for a while. But Bryan Singer tried to bring back the Richard Donner tone, famous pedophile Bryan Singer, in 2006 with Superman Returns, which was such a flawed film. But like this
which
film,
had Kevin Spacey in it.
like this
Famous
film
pedophile
is a Richard. This is the second time. What I like about Superman films is one thing I'll give Zack Snyder credit for is unlike Bryan Singer and James Gunn, they didn't just make Richard Donner Superman fan films. That's a niche that only happened twice with Bryan Singer's and James Gunn's. But what I will say is James Gunn's is good and Superman Returns has like 3 cool shots and the rest is basically dog shit. And Bryan Singer is a pedophile. Is he in jail or is he just like got cancelled? I don't remember.
I don't think Bryan Singer's in jail. I think he's in a Roman Polanski and just fled to some country without extradition.
Gotcha. We'll hear about we'll see who signs the Bring Back Bryan Singer petition. We'll be like Hugh Jackman.
Superman
Ryan
Returns
Reynolds,
has my other favorite famous pedophile, Kevin Spacey, star of Call of Duty, whichever one he's in.
This movie has 2 actors from X-Men Days of Future Past, and Superman Returns has 2 famous closeted homosexual pedophiles. The old come over in your shirtless in your gym shorts kind of pedophiles. So that's wonderful. I guess birds of a feather flock together, you know. Wow.
Yeah, maybe we'll see some other X-Men.
They could get the Ren and Stimpy guy in on the next Bryan Singer Kevin Spacey collaboration cartoon.
Yeah. Roman Polanski can write.
Roman Polanski, Kevin Spacey, Ren and Stimpy guy, and Bryan Singer come together to make a comeback.
Stars.
Bill Cosby looks like Bill Cosby looks like a 17-year-old Chihuahua. He's got like a grayed out eyes that are like pointed in different directions. Bill Cosby's looking rough, but I mean, like, you know, whatever. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Aiden, would you recommend Superman parentheses 2025?
Yes. Kind of would you recommend Superman?
Yeah.